Hello guys, this is Oba FX and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. So as part of our top-down analysis series, I'm going to be looking at Euro USD today, as I've come to understand that it's the most traded currency pair, and a lot of people would be interested in knowing what could be happening with this currency pair in this new trading week. So without wasting much time, I would like us to start analysis from the monthly time frame. Yeah, I always starting my analysis from either the monthly or the weekly time frame to get a general overview of the market. Now, just by merely looking at the graph before us, the first thing would be to note the direction of the market. What has the market been doing? I wouldn't want to go as far back as the 1970s, something and all that, not to bore us with all sort of analysis. But from merely looking at this, we can see that the Euro USD starting from, let's say, in 2008, came down, made a lower high, gave a double bottom, a double top, a triple bottom, then made a lower high, a lower low. The market ranged a bit, then made a lower high. It tried to almost make a double bottom, double top, went ahead to give a lower high. Then the market ranged for a while, and then instead of coming to make a lower low, it made what? A higher low. And currently the market is making what? A higher high. So we can't really call this a higher high yet until we see what becomes of it. So just by merely looking at the monthly time frame, we can see what the market has been doing. So the first information we can get here is that the market is giving us an indication that a bullish run is about to commence or has already commenced. Now, why will I say it has already commenced? Because if I'm to zoom in, we can see that for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 months or thereabouts, the market has been going upwards. And then also, we can also zoom out and impute a trend line. So if I'm to place a trend line here, coming downwards, you can see that the bearish trend line has just been broken. So all these are giving us an indication or a perception that the market is in a bullish, or are giving us a bullish bias of the market. So what do we do next? The next thing I do after getting this direction would be to map out key point of interest. Now, like I always say, key point of interest, they are mainly rejection lines or rejection points that would have acted as either support or resistance. And what I will do will be to map out the most recent rejection points, which are like the most recent key points of interest, which are places where I know that if I'm to take trades from there, there will be high probability of making profits. So using my rectangle tool, the first place that looks really obvious to me would be this point. Now, I've talked about key points of interest in other videos on this channel. So in case you are not that conversant with it, you can just check the video out. So once I map this point, you can see that there are lots of rejection, candlesticks rejected by this particular zone, acting as what? A support. And if I stretch it to my left, you see that it was also rejected. It has also rejected price severally in the past. then I can as well stretch it a bit to my right because that's where price is going to. Then the next part would be this very zone. So as I'm placing these lines here, remember this is the monthly time frame. Each candlestick here, let me zoom this in. Each candlestick here stands for 1 month. So price got here was rejected, came back was rejected, came back was rejected, finally broke through. Then this zone that acted as resistance for a while suddenly became what? A support. So if we're to start from all this while, several months, or for several months, this zone that I just put out here acted as what? A support. And then for a while acted as a resistance. It has just been broken and going upwards. So the same applies to this particular zone, acted as a resistance for a very long time, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, for 9 months. This is almost a year. Euro USD was just in a range, and then the zone I just mapped out now was acting as what? A resistance, stopping price from going up. So the next zone that I would mark would be this particular area. Now I'll stick with these three zones because they are like the relevant zones to what we're analyzing at the moment. And then also I can impute another trend line here for my bullish trend. So I have one touch of the trend line, a second touch, a third touch, whenever it happens, would be massive. So now, just to recap the information that we've gathered from the monthly time frame, we've seen that the bearish trend line has been broken. We've seen that for the past 6 months, the bulls have been in charge of the markets. We've also seen that we have key points of interest that have also told us that price that has acted as either support or resistance at one point in time. So all we can say now is that the market is in a bullish trend or has embarked on a bullish trend and is headed towards this resistance zone. So let's look at what the weekly time frame would be telling us. Okay, now from our weekly time frame, we can see that it supports what we saw in the monthly time frame in the sense that we can now see the bullish trend in a clearer light. So we can now see a higher low. Sorry, we have a higher low here, then a higher high, a higher low, and then the market is currently trying to make a higher high. Now, even from the zones that we drew, from to zoom this in, from the zones that we've drawn, we can see that the market broke out of this range and has retested it. It did not just retest the range, it did not just retest the initial resistance of this range that has now turned to support. It also retested the trend line that the bullish trend line, the bearish trend line that was broken from the monthly time frame. So this gives us more confidence that we did not make a mistake in picking our bullish bias from the monthly time frame. So, but all this still would not just make us go ahead to start clicking buys because what every buyer tends to look out for is discounted price. So no matter what you're dealing on or what you want to purchase, if for example you want to get fuel for your car or an announcement has been made that there's going to be scarcity of fuel, so a lot of filling stations are holding fuel, and all of a sudden the price of fuel goes up. So the information would be that, oh, everybody is buying fuel. So like this Euro USD, everybody is buying Euro USD, so it is going up. But even as a buyer or someone who is interested in buying, you would want to look for the lowest possible price to get either the fuel or Euro USD. So in this case, we've seen that it is going up. We've seen from the weekly time frame that just like the monthly time frame suggested, yes, Euro USD is buying, the bulls are in charge of the market. But the question is, where would be the best possible place for us to buy Euro USD that would strengthen our chances of making profits, that we won't go ahead to buy and then the price suddenly starts coming down. So that would now mean it's on us to look for a discounted price on the chart. How do we do this? Now we have to zoom in more into this weekly time frame. And from this weekly time frame, I can spot a point where price was rejected severally, and that's this point. So somebody would say, how did I know? Now, I would have also I can also say that if I go back to the line graph, I can spot what is structure. In my last video, I talked about how to trade the W structure. Now, this is a simple structure here. If I take this, we can see that we have what here, the neckline was formed, and then this was the second leg of the W. So we can see that price came down, pushed up, formed the neckline of the W structure. And just as I explained in my last video, you can see that the neckline has been retested by this doji candle and price has just was pushed upwards. Now, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that we can use this structure to make more informed decision, because from this structure now, we now know that we have like a new support that has just been retested. Now, let's go to the daily time frame to see if we can gather more information. So as we all can see, all I do in my analysis is pure price action. You see, there are no indicators here to tell you if it goes up, you buy, if it comes down, you sell. It's purely the relationship of price with whatever it is we're trading. Now, from the daily time frame, we can see that we'll have the opportunity to impute what a trend line here. So someone will say, oh, now what does this mean? This simply means that price has been making higher highs and higher lows, higher high, higher low. So what this trend line is telling us that for every time price came back to this trend line, it was pushed upwards. So price left here, came back to the trend line, was pushed upwards, came back to the trend line a third time, and it is currently being pushed upwards. Now, the way I trade, I either swing trade or day trade. Now, for my swing trading, I take my entries from the H4 time frame, and for my day trading, I take my entry from the H1 time frame. But from all what we can see here now, we can see that price just left a key zone and is headed in the upwards direction. So what that simply means is that if I'm to engage in this market, I would have to wait for price to come back, to make a retracement back to this trend line, either to this trend line or an adjustment of this support zone on the daily time frame. So when price gets to come back to this place, then I'll look for entries by way of chart pattern or candlestick pattern to take my trade either on the H1 or minute 30 time frame. But however, I do understand that there are people that do the analysis from the lower time frame. They probably start the analysis from the H1 time frame. Now, if you're such person, this is what I would advise you look out for. Now, this is the H1 time frame. The first thing I would do would be to draw an inner trend line. Remember, this trend line was from the daily time frame. So the first thing I would do would be to draw an inner trend line. Now, the reason why I don't trade from this lower time frame, a lot of people make money from it. If you are very good with scalping, if you are very good with getting into the market and getting out, then it's cool. And if you have a lot of time to stay on your chart, then it's cool. But however, I believe that structures formed on the lower time frame are easily broken and are less trustworthy as compared to those formed in the much more higher time frame like the daily or even the H4 time frame. So I understand that a lot of people do the analysis on this lower time frame. So if you are one of those people, can come to your 1 hour time frame. Now you have two major touches of this trend line, the left here, and it ranged a while and it's back to the trend line. It has it's it has just broken out of this price just broke out of this range sort of and had made a second touch of a trend line. So what you'll be looking out for Euro USD, if this is how you trade, would be for price to come back to this trend line or back into the zone to retest this resistance that has now turned support, and then you look forward your buy trades. So in doing that, you can take your trades from this zone and then your stop loss be underneath this place. Now also note that price could come into this place to play a bit and not just allow you to take trades from the support zone. But all in all, this would be my outlook for Euro USD for this week or today. I'm making this video at about 1:30 a.m. Nigeria time or 1:30 a.m. GMT plus 1, depending on where you're watching from. So, like I always like to plead, if you've learned a thing or two from this analysis, please click on the subscribe button. Please like the video and share with your contacts. Also, if you want to learn how to analyze the market like this, or you want to learn a thing or two to take your trading journey to another level or hasten your trading journey, you can reach out to me via the WhatsApp contact on my bio. Thanks for always supporting this channel. Thanks for watching. See you some other time. Cheers.